Hey guys, welcome back, and I am here with another book review. I finished this book last night. This is Forged by Blood by Ehigbor Okosun, and this is a YA fantasy romance. This book follows our main character, Demi, who is a young magic practitioner in a society where magic is not allowed. And we follow her on her quest for revenge. We see her negotiate kind of her relationship with family and belonging after the death of her mother at a very young age. Now, before we get into what I liked and didn't like with this book, I did rate this book a 3-star review. It's our 3-star read. 3-star review is not bad for me. I would reread a 3-star book. I enjoyed it. It's just not necessarily something that was I would recommend to everybody. So, getting into the things I really liked about this book, I loved the world building in this book. This story is based on Nigerian folklore, which I think is very apparent in how textured and layered and colorful this world is. It was a very visual book for me, if that makes any sense. I could just very clearly see my surroundings as I was in this story. And I was actually so intrigued by the society and this world and this culture. I probably would have been happy with another 200 pages of world building. I was very, very intrigued by it. So, as far as the world building goes, she did a superb job. Now, I think the things I didn't like about this book and what kept it from being higher rated came down to the pacing of the book. Now, I love a fast paced book, but this book was so fast paced, it almost felt chaotic. Things were happening one right after the other, that you really didn't have time to sit and absorb the the situations and the action that was going on and really kind of digest the repercussions of the actions that were being taken by the main characters. And in that same vein, I feel like a lot of the relationships in the book felt a little rushed, and I felt like they didn't really develop organically because the book was so fast paced. And in that same vein, because those relationships didn't feel really organic, I feel like I wasn't as emotionally invested or connected to the characters as I wanted to be. Now, this is part of a duology, and I will be reading the next book because I am so intrigued by this world, and I'm hoping she's kind of like settled into the story a little bit more and the pacing's a little bit better. And again, that's just my perspective on this one. And then lastly, what I want to touch on is just some of the topics and themes in this book. Now, I would consider this YA. And so if you're thinking, is this appropriate? You know, how spicy is this book? I would say not at all. I wouldn't consider this book spicy at all. There are no explicit scenes. The main character, Demi, does allude to kind of her sexual awakening as she interacts with some of the characters around her, which I feel is completely age appropriate for young readers. I mean, if y'all knew what I was reading in middle school, like this is Sesame Street. So I feel like that would be totally age appropriate. Now, some of the themes in this book, in terms of the world building, are pretty heavy, and I don't think that's a bad thing, especially in YA fantasy. I think that's a really safe way for young readers to be exposed to some of those topics and be able to digest them in a way that's going to stick with them, which is the important part. But they are heavier, and I just think if you've got a young reader in the house who's reading this book, just be prepared to have some of those conversations because you're dealing with things like classism, racism, slavery, apartheid, torture, rape, really rough stuff. And she doesn't shy away from presenting those in a very brutal manner, not in a way that is graphic, but that is very grounded and just kind of matter of fact in the way she presents some of these stories and some of these aspects of the story, which I think again lends itself to the world building because it feels so grounded and real and almost natural to these characters. It's more immersive because this is how you feel a society that is built on these tenets would function, if that makes any sense at all. So overall, I enjoyed this read, and I am excited to see what she is going to come out with in the future. And I will be reading the second book in the duology once I get my hands on it. Let me know, have y'all read this book? Are you interested in reading it? I'm always nosy and want to know y'all's thoughts. So I will see you next time, and happy reading.